Oscar's Steakhouse was fantastic.
Yeah. You talk about fighting abroad in Las Vegas. How different is it to fighting in front of an English crowd and an environment that you're sort of used to, where these are like, you think of Las Vegas, you just think of massive shows, big lights, everything's bigger and better.
Yeah, this is quite interesting actually. This was quite a small show really, because it was in the Chelsea. It's only about 3,000-4,000 people venue, but my fans made up the majority of it. As I said, about 400 fans, and that was still great. What was more different is the fact that you've got a different commission, different officials, different way of doing things, different drugs testing, and it's all a new environment. But that's good for me, because when I go back there in maybe 4, 5, 6 fights time and fight in America again, then I'm in a great position to know that I've already done all this before.
Yeah. Some boxers, so I know there was one boxer, I can't remember his name now, but he went to fight in Africa. And as he's gone to fight in Africa, he said they played some dirty tactics out there. The hotel will all of a sudden...
Wrong hotel and
exactly,
not good food, putting you in a bad place.
That's exactly, yeah.
You've got to be careful. These things are all underhanded things that happen in boxing. Boxing can be a Wild West sport sometimes, There's no barriers to entry into boxing. If I wanted to turn around and say I'm stopping boxing and become a boxing manager right now, if you wanted to become a boxing manager, you can, which is a great thing about it, because there's no barriers, but... There's a lack of regulations going into it, which is a good and bad thing, because you get some interesting characters in boxing.
Have you experienced anything dodgy?
Nothing really. I'm very lucky to have a great team. Adam Morley, my management, and some great advisors around me. Matchroom Boxing, a very stand-up company. Eddie Hearn and Barry Hearn always pay their fighters on time. Great characters. The story between them two is amazing, and just very, very privileged to be in the position I'm in. Come from my own hard work, and I've just got to keep going. And as long as I keep performing, I'll be all right.
Yeah. What's the main difference between Matchroom Boxing and Queensbury? So you got Frank Warren on one side, and you got Eddie Hearn the other side. Like, is there certain things that come in the air when you're thinking, I want to go towards this company more than the other?
Well, I don't have much experience with Frank Warren, and I still regard Frank Warren as a legend, a Hall of Fame promoter. Promoted some of the best fighters in the world, and to still be around in the game now, in a world like boxing, he's got to be well respected. But the one thing I can say, and I have noticed, is the production of the shows at Matchroom are second to none. When I go to some Queensbury shows, I do think, wow, Matchroom really do put on a show. Even when I go to Sky shows, Matchroom are the kings at putting on a production, And all I'm going to say on that matter is that they're number one with that.
And that's what you want to be a part of as well.
Yeah, you want to be a part of good nights and big nights, and delivers the best for the fans. The security are the best. They always make sure there's no trouble. If there is trouble, it's dealt with straight away. Everyone's catered for. And, everything gets sorted, from the ticket lady, Bella Gay, who's her name's Bella. She's a lovely lady, and she gets everything done. Deals a lot with my dad doing with the tickets. Alex, who sorts out all the hotels and all the logistics for things, and Darren Fleurs, who does all that with the taxes and making sure everything runs smoothly. You're always looked after at Matchroom, and it's a great company, and they give you the best platform for you to perform.
It's brilliant. What about in terms of the fight you had with Armstrong?
Yeah.
That was for a title fight?
My first title fight, the Southern Area title fight. The first time the Southern Area has been fought for since 2018, when Daniel Dubois fought, what's his name? He fought another up-and-coming guy at the time. And so it's good to give some activity to that belt again, It was the belt had been made in its own way, a new style of belt, so it was nice to win that first initial style of belt, And it's a respected title within the boxing circles, because there's some hard fights that have been happening for the Southern Area.
So, talk to me about Harry Armstrong. He had a 5-1 record. And it was for the Southern Area Championship. Yeah,
the Southern Area Championship in the boxing world and boxing circles, a very, very well-respected belt to win. There's been some great fights down the line. I remember the last person to fight for the Southern Area heavyweight title was Daniel Dubois, who's obviously going on to do massive things. He won that emphatically, and it was a tough fight. It lived up to the bill with Harry Armstrong, very tough man. Obviously knocked him down in the first 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And from there, he was really tough, and I had to regather myself a little bit, think I've got to box him a bit more, break him up a little bit more, and we eventually knocked him out in the 7th round.
Yeah, so what happens, like, when you knock somebody out in the, knock somebody down in the first 20 seconds of a fight, he goes down, your confidence is up. Then you go in round 2, bosh. You gave him a good hide, good beat him, and then all of a sudden he doesn't go down. Like, he perseveres. What does that do to you mentally?
You have to regather your thoughts. You have to think, right, I've trained hard enough. I know what I've got to do now. He hasn't gone. You got to, because if I went out for the third round like I did for the first two, it doesn't matter how fit you are. If you're going at sprinting at 100 miles an hour, you can't sustain that. So I thought, just box behind my jab. I was still winning the rounds and get him when the time comes. And that round 7 belt, when the bell and the ring cards went up for round 7, I thought, right, there's only 4 rounds to go now. I can unload a little bit more. I've conserved my energy well. He'd be feeling the pace as well. I was trying to draw him onto things, draw him on, and then the right hand over the top came, and it was a great shot because Harry Armstrong's a tough man. He give a lot of people a tough fight. He's had lots and lots of amateur fights. I think he boxed for England at one point, so he was really confident going into that fight because he thought he had more pedigree than me. But we dealt with him and convincingly beat him.
What made you go down that route of Southern Area Champion?
It's old school, it's traditional. And where I've not had the pedigree of as an amateur, I only had 10 amateur fights. Not that that means too much, I don't think, because you can be a fantastic amateur. You still got to start again when you turn professional. It's a different sport. But it's a traditional belt to win. I'd love to do the traditional route, Southern Area, English, British, Commonwealth. And yeah, it just made perfect sense at the time to have a title fight of that sort and get a bit of legitimacy in my career. So people who did think I'm just a ticket seller, that's all I am. I've won a professional belt here that other people would like to have.
How important is confidence in terms of a press conference? So it is all about selling tickets. Let's be honest, it's an arena.
It's a show. Boxing is a show and you want to entertain people.
So how much of that show do you bring? Because Tyson Fury is always selling a show out. He can do it single-handedly sometimes. How much of a showman are you? Do you like getting on the mic? Do you like trash talking? Like, what's your style?
I'm not a trash talker. But what I think people like to buy into is someone who's authentic and trying to be themselves. And that doesn't mean be boring and say nothing and just fight and don't engage with people. It's about engaging with people, but not being fake, not being false, letting people know your personality. People are interested, obviously, because I'm exciting to watch, but you want to engage people as much as you can. So it's not just a press conferences. It's like doing things at the brewery and getting people who want to come and meet you, going to see them, and giving every fan a T-shirt when they come to a fight. It's all little things like that. Making a whole day of it for people. That's what sells as well, and making sure people get good value for their money, because it's a lot in this economic climate for people to spend 60, 100, 250, 500 pounds sometimes for a ticket if they want ringside. So you've got to make sure it's worth it for people the whole day.
Absolutely. You've got a nickname, the Romford Bull.
Yes.
Where did that come from?
I was sparring in Vegas, and one of the coaches, I can't remember exactly, he said, "You fight like a bull, man. You fight like a bull. Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Romford." He said, "You should be called the Romford Bull." And it just stuck from there. Because I was aggressive, even more so back in the day when I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just going in there and giving it a good go for 3-4 rounds. So I always have that bullish style, and it's a good name, and it's become a sticking point,
I like it, because you've got Romford in it, and that's
Romford.
where we're from.
Romford in the roots.
Okay, so let's talk about Emilio Salas.
Yeah.
He had a 7-win to 4 losses streak.
Yeah.
Left hook first round.
Yeah, that fight, I could sense he was not going to be much cop when I first went in there, because we was really expecting a tricky southpaw. We thought, let's get a southpaw under the belt, because we haven't fought one. He was a Golden Gloves champion back in America in his amateur days, so he's had great pedigree. But I think in the build up to the fight, I could sense a bit of fear within him, and I just don't think he fancied it when we got in the ring.
Where's that intuition of sensing that fear come from?
Not making eye contact when we're in the face off, bit twitchiness in the eyes.
Is eye contact really important?
Shakiness in the body. I think you can sense a lot from that. I remember I walked out, always look at the venue before I fight when I get there. Okay. He was there as well, and he was nervous. I could sense it, and I think even with that cuffing shot on the left hook around the side, it weren't a clean shot, but you could still feel the power, and I don't think he fancied it too much, so that was disappointing. So we went straight from that fight. A week later, announced we were on the fighting Harry Armstrong on the AJ undercard for the Southern Area. So you quickly move on, But I was expecting a tough test, an awkward test with a southpaw. Mm-hmm. Eddie Hearn came in the change room before and said he's not going to be easy. Yeah. He's going to give you some rounds to think about. Don't rush in, but that's the way it goes, I guess.
What are the dangers of facing a southpaw in the heavyweight division?
Obviously, your jabs clash a lot because you're both, my jab's here, his jab's here. The backhand comes into play a lot more, and that's obviously your power shot. So you've got to be careful. It's very, very easy to land your backhand. So it's a danger for them, but also a danger for yourself.
How often do you have to spar to be ready for southpaws?
It's more so you do it. I actually sparred a southpaw yesterday for a couple of rounds, but it's more so in your training camp. If you're sparring a southpaw, you want to be sparring. If you're fighting a southpaw, you want to be sparring the southpaws all through your camp for 8 weeks, So
when you're in camp, do you try to get a sparring partner which mimics your opponent?
yeah, as much as you can. It's also good to get people who are going to give you good, intense work to get your fitness levels up. But if you're fighting someone who's tall and long, you want to get tall and long sparring in. Someone who's more of a boxer than a fighter, you want to get people with more boxing skills. So you get the correct sparring in because you just get into good habits of preparing for that guy. You need a blueprint, and to work on that blueprint, you need someone who's going to mimic what you're going to get in the fight.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Michael, is it Passenger?
Michael Reisinger from the Czech Republic as well.
Old spelling mistake.
He was a tough man, a proud man, a football hooligan, I think, of some sort in Czech Republic.
Round 2 just starts. Big overhand.
Yeah, I caught him at the end of the first round as well with a right hand as he came in. He used to box on the Czech Republic Muay Thai national team, so proud man. And he was gutted afterwards because he's a proud, tough man. And that was good because that was just after I broke my hand in that fight, on my 5th fight, when it went to points. So it was good to come through that psychologically and get a really crisp, clean knockout.
When you have an injury like break your hand, is it the same when it's repaired and fixed?
It's stronger now. So you see these 2 knuckles, they're a lot bigger, these ones, than them 2. The scar tissue has actually made it more dense and stronger. So you have to look after your hands because they do get damaged, they do break. Yeah. So warming them up before and after, like any muscle, is important. Cryotherapy work on them as well. So you have to look after your hands.
Cryotherapy?
It's a cold treatment, and I can get a spray on it, and that's what I like. Prefer local cryotherapy to the actual chambers. I think an ice bath is better than the chamber.
Really?
And it just penetrates deep below the skin, gets rid of inflammation. So if you've had a hard spar or been hitting the pads very hard, just a little bit of spray on that for 5 minutes will get that inflammation down quicker and allow it to heal quicker. And then the blood, and when it heats up, the blood starts flushing through a lot quicker as well. So there's all little tricks of the trade that you need to know, and warming up properly and wearing the correct protection, putting sponges on your hand, wrapping them up, using tape, that's all important as well.
Johnny, how hard do you hit?
Hard. Very hard. One thing I know is I can punch very, very hard. And it's exciting for people to watch. When I punch people and I know they're gone, it's more of like it's not like they go to sleep power, it's more like it just rattles their brain. That's what I can see. Without sounding too graphic, there's different types. Deontay Wilder is the sniper, put you to sleep power. Yeah. Joshua's sort of got that, but he's got unbelievable power in other ways, rattling people's brains. Dubois, I think, has got that ability to sleep people, but I've got that one where it's like imagine like a glass and it's full of like marbles inside of it, and I'm just smashing it, and people's brain is rattling inside. It's thumping power, I think. Joe Joyce is similar. He's got that thumping power, and you can bamboozle people like that. I remember, obviously, when I fought Alan Babbage recently, the first 1-2, it rattled him because his legs went a bit funny, and then when I followed it up with the 8-punch combination, it was more of a rattle, and it put his legs all over the place, and that's to do with where you hit people as well. I like to try and hit people on the temple because it rattles your brain a little bit more. As barbaric as this sounds, this is the sport we're in, and you hit someone on the temple, it frazzles the brain more than if you hit them anywhere else. Obviously, you want to hit the chin as well. That can knock people out. The nose as well is important to bludgeon that because it will affect their breathing a little bit, and it's very graphic when you think about it, but this is the sport we're in, and they're going to try and do it to me as well.
How ethical is boxing? Because some people are still out there going, how can 2 men or women be beating each other like senselessly, and this is all legal sort of thing?
We've seen in the news this week people stabbing each other to death. I remember I just saw in Southend, which is 25 minutes from us, two young men holding massive ninja swords, scimitars, just holding them and slashing people to death. And there is a lack of law and order in this country right now. And the one thing I know from a boxing gym is all people from all walks of life, all backgrounds can walk into a gym, and there's an instant authority with the coaches and training team. And the struggle that you go through training, sparring together, it builds a camaraderie that transcends all barriers. And we need boxing back in schools 100%, because people are always going to be drawn to violence. The nature of how human beings are. Since the dawn of time, since the ancient Greeks, people saw gladiators fighting. Boxing was one of the Olympic sports back in the day, even then. And it's about bringing that under control, regulating it, because young boys in particular, they're always going to be drawn to violence and fighting. It's the nature of how humans are built. And if we can control that in a controlled environment with a sport like boxing, which teaches respect, which teaches integrity, it humbles you because you fight people better than you, people who've got more power than you, and it teaches you respect because you know your limits and you know other people's limits. And it needs to be brought back into schools because it brings it's ethical in that sense, because it's a lesser of two evils in a way that, would you rather your son or your daughter on the streets, hanging on street corners with the risk of knives, or would you want them to be in an environment where they're learning to be fit, to have respect for other people and mental discipline as well? There's a lot of organisations that have been around, Box Up Crime, Gloves Up, Knives Down, and I know how I was speaking there about ways you aim for people's heads and things like that. That's if you're a professional sportsman and you're doing this for money and you're in combat and you want to do this as a profession. But there's other things you can do. I went to university in Exeter and we done boxing classes for 400 or 500 people. We started off with about 50 members and we grew it to 500 members with the help of my friends Nicholas Eaton, who run the captaincy of the club. Great guy. And it's not just about sparring and hitting each other. It's about the fitness of it and the team spirit that you build and getting people into fitness and sports in whatever way, whether that's boxing, whether that's netball, football, hockey. Boxing's another sport that needs to be embraced because it's not just about contact, it's not just about sparring. It teaches good values and good respect, you know?
I mean, like, COVID really affected a lot of people just being at home, looking at four walls or, you know, I don't know, like, you're quite present because you're still young, you're 25, but I see a lot of, like, between 20 to 25-year-olds that look quite blank and robotic.
Yeah.
Like, how are you? Yes, I'm fine. Like, it just feels like they've lost that social.
Yeah, let's have it right. Locking people up for 2 years is not healthy. It wasn't healthy, or whatever we done. I know people were dying and it was terrible, but it seems that we created a larger problem with lockdown as well. And there's things that perhaps the first lockdown was warranted. We didn't know what was going on, but there was severe social elements of life that, as you said, there's kids who've grown up who have missed out, especially like I feel sorry for them, the 17, 18-year-olds who missed out on their development years as a young adult. Yeah. My brothers are two of them. It did some bad things, you know, and people turn to alcohol, they've got nothing else to do, staring at four walls all day.
So let's go on to the next fight I want to speak about, Alvaro Terrero.
My first one at the O2.
Yeah. What's it like fighting in the O2?
It's amazing. It's my favourite one.
Yeah?
Favourite venue. It's like
I thought it was a copper box.
I like the copper box as well, but fighting at the O2, it's just the space. I know it sounds weird, but the space and how people are all on top of you, it's such a great arena. Yeah. It's brilliant. And the first time I fought there at the O2, only had 2,000. Well, I had sold 2,000 tickets. It was great. Dillian White was meant to fight Otto Wallen, but pulled out with an injury. Yeah. And so it was just, they kept the show on because I sold a lot of tickets and it was great. Everyone was there for me. But when you say 2,000 people and you've never fought in front of 2,000 people before, you thought it'd be one little section, but the whole bowl around the bottom was full of my supporters, and it was unbelievable to have support from people from all over the country. And that was amazing.
How is that different in terms of walking into your local gym, your bag over your shoulder, put it down, all right guys, how you doing? Right, go down through your circuit training, do your sparring, bosh, you know, like, and then, like, you know, that was a good day, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow, to all of a sudden you're all dressed up in your robe, you're in a dressing room and you're going for that ring walk. You can see all of these, the whole curtains go dark, you see all these little lights everywhere, you see all these fans screaming. What is that experience like, Johnny? It's
a huge amount of pressure when you first do it. Now I do it and I'm used to it, but it's an unbelievable experience. It's exhilarating, but controlling that nerve and that pumped up feeling, that's the hard part. But I've done it in front of a crowd now 8 times, so you get used to it over time. But it's very hard to control your nervous energy, you know?
Because sometimes when you're so tense like that,
you're not loose, you can't be fluid, you can't throw your jab properly, you can't throw your right hands properly.
It feels like you're not even hitting them.
Everything's stiff, everything's hard to manage, and it uses your energy up quicker. So dealing with the pressure of the occasion. I've been lucky enough to be able to deal with it since my 4th and 5th fights.
How do you relax?
Watch a bit of telly, walk the dog, simple things. Do you mean in the changing rooms?
In the changing room when
Music.
you're about to go out.
Music and...
What are you listening to?
A lot of country music. I know it's become popular, but I've listened to country music for a long, long time. A lot of old school music. And I've think about what the work I've put in, you know, and I couldn't have done any more. So whatever it will be is what my destiny is. So there's no stress of thinking about could I have done more, because I know every single time I do as best I can.
I know your family support you a lot. How important is it to have them around when you're
I don't have my dad in the changing room or near me on the front.
And they are mic'd up,
business, it's professional. My dad gets nervous like every dad would, my mum. They know when we go into fight. They've done all the work before, they put loads of work in, but me, my trainers, my training team, that's all I need around me. I don't like having a big entourage around me. We're there to do a job, we get the job done and we can celebrate after.
So Torreira, would you say he was a journeyman because he's won 5 and he lost 13?
Yeah, he was a journeyman.
How do you prepare for a journeyman? Like, you know...
They're hard to break down. It's different. It's different. You have to break them down a little bit in a different way. But a lot of fighters on their way up, they could have 8, 9, 10 fights fighting journeyman, you know. But that's part of the experience. They serve an important role in boxing, bringing fighters through. And they're still tough to break down. And if you can knock your journeyman out, it's a good statement to make, you know. And they're part of the building blocks to becoming a better fighter. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean Torreira, he still came and had a good go, landed a few right hands on me. Yeah. He still comes and game. He wasn't one of these guys who just tucks up and tries to survive. He still comes and has a very proud man, and I'm still in contact with him today, and he's a good man.
Nice. But round 2, 1 minute, 25 seconds left, and the knockdown comes in, towel comes in.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Amazing, especially after selling that amount of tickets. I caught him on the temple, followed it up. It wasn't the cleanest knockout. It was like a less clean version of the Babic knockout, scuffing shots and coming through, but the power was there to be seen, and he kept getting up. I think he got up 2 or 3 times, and it was just great when the towel came in and can celebrate afterwards.
One thing I love about you, Johnny, when I was watching your fights is you're going in, bang, 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 like you normally think someone's full of aggression and temper and they've lost it. But I see you hit somebody just as their knee was touching the floor, and you hit them, and straight away you gave him a hug and kissed his head. Like it was like, whoa, he's not in a state of like demonism sort of thing.
No.
He's very present.
I'm present in the moment, and it was an accident. It happens. I've seen other fighters do it. You're flying with your punches, and one comes in. But I just gave him a little acknowledge to say, look, I didn't mean that. There's no honour in hitting a man when he's on the ground, and he's a tough man, Danny Whitaker. Fought for the Central Area title, so like they call it the Central Area, but they do it in terms of Great Britain, so it's more the northern areas of England. Tough man, and as again, talk to him still to this day, and it's just in my nature to be like that. Obviously, you can switch it on and off, and that was a moment just to switch it off quickly and say, "You're okay."
Where does that control come from?
Confidence in your own ability and not having to prove anything to anyone. I know I can punch. I know I'm strong and I'm a powerful fighter. I don't have to prove anything to anyone. And it's being a sportsman and having a code of ethics and honour when it comes to fighting someone. It's a sport. You're not trying to kill the other man. Yeah. You're there to conduct yourself appropriately, and being a good sportsman comes before anything, winning or losing. You win magnanimously and you lose, and you're gracious in defeat as well. And I always try and conduct myself in that way. There'll be times when you're gutted and you want to do better, but you've always got to remember it's a sport and you've got to conduct yourself accordingly.
Well, you are a sports, person, athlete. What happens if you're just sitting in the pub or a bar with your family or just sitting down with a group of friends and somebody just starts bad mouthing you and saying, who do you think you are? You think you're some sort of boxer? I'll have you right now. Like trying to play with, because there's loads of people going,
there's loads out there.
This guy's got a bit of fame. He's got a bit of money behind him. If I wind him up, maybe I can get about that, You've got
to wind me up first, though. That's the only thing. Can't wind me up very easily. If you're if you're so bothered, you've got to come up to me in a bar, because you do get people who do it. You get looks.
Have you ever had that?
Yeah, not people coming up to me, but even over the last 2 years, when I first turned pro, people were happy for you in your local area. Yes. And there's still a great amount of people that are. I've got a great network of friends, but they're only happy while you're not doing as well as them. Once you start doing better than them, You get a few looks. You get people not saying hello to you as much. When I go away from my area, it's great. It's amazing support because people don't see you as often, and people see you for who you are. Because on social media and stuff, I try and project myself as naturally as I can. But you do get jealous people, but don't rise to it. I've never had someone come up to me and say, "Oh, you do this." I've had one guy, a young guy, 17, 18, 19. I think it was 19. It was about half a year ago, said, I'm going to knock you out when I turn pro. I'm going to knock you out. I said, turn pro first, enjoy it, and just be careful what you wish for. That's all you say. And it's just I would never dream of saying that to if I saw a professional boxer up and coming, you conduct yourself and say, good luck, well done, your hard work, keep going. And some people just lose their cool a little bit,
Yeah. So what do you think of when the gloves were off with Triple D against AJ?
Yeah.
And Triple D said, well, let's just go now then.
Yeah, I quite like that. That was good viewing, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And,
great viewing.
I'd buy a ticket now just watching that.
I'm looking forward to that fight.
But AJ didn't really take it kindly, just side-eyed him and go, watch what you're saying. Like, you're not on my level. And then Carl Froch comes up and goes, what does he mean not on level? Where's the humble AJ gone? This is all his money. That's what he's referring to. Look at this, that, other. Like, what do you think of that whole scenario?
It's hard when you're fighting for the world heavyweight title. It's a bit different context to someone coming up to you in a bar and someone who's not relevant. These two guys know in a few months when they've done that, they've got to go and have a fight, and they're fighting for the world title. And there's a little bit of jostling there, a little bit of body language and mind games going on, and someone's saying that you can't intimidate me. You come over to me. I'm gonna do this and do that. It's very hard to keep your cool. But I think Joshua did it in a way where he did keep his cool. I know he stood up, but he done it in a menacing, intimidating way. And fair play to Dubois, he didn't back down either. So it's the nature and part and parcel of being a heavyweight boxer fighting for the world title. You're gonna get a bit of testosterone pumping, aren't you?
Yes, 100. Danny Whitaker, how was that fight?
Yeah, that was the fight in the Matchroom Garden.
It was an open atmosphere.
Really good atmosphere.
Different.
Really good. That was my third fight, and that was that round 2 knockout, I think it was.
Yeah, round 2, 1 minute 50
overhand
seconds
right.
left.
That was good. Really local to me, but 10, 15 minutes away in Brentwood. So, yeah, really good event and a once in a lifetime place to box.
Yeah, it looked good.
Really good. You see the garden before it's all done up, and then you see all the stuff in it for the arena, and it looks amazing. It looks like a proper stadium sort of vibe. So it was really good.
You got Gabriel
Nguema. Yeah, he was tough. He was a Spanish heavyweight champion, but it was also tough because I broke my hand in the changing room and cut my eye in the first 30 seconds. But it would have been a tough test anyway. Yeah. Probably something I didn't need at that stage of my career. How do you
fight with a broken hand?
I was trying to land if you look at that fight back, I'm trying to wing the shots over the top. I couldn't really land on this knuckle. I splintered my metacarpal bone here. Okay. And it was an overuse injury. I really felt it before the fight, but I cracked it even more during the warm-up on the pads. So looking back now, I could have handled it better, jabbed a bit more, but obviously I spoke to you about feeling tense, feeling anxious, and that plays a big role. And probably a fight I didn't need at that stage of my career, being my 5th fight. Sold 2,500 tickets at Ali Pali. Someone like a Michael Rising or Torero would have been a good fit for that fight, but it's all experience in the bank. And looking back now, long term, it's put me in a better position because I've been in a situation of high pressure where things aren't going my way, And I still won every round.
I mean, that's six rounds, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You did on that one. That's one of your longest fights?
Yeah, that was my second longest fight behind the Armstrong fight, which went 7 rounds.
How important is it to get them rounds in? Obviously, you want to make a statement, and you've actually, come out, especially, the last fight, Babik, 36 seconds. Boy, I was watching that.
36.
Just sitting there watching that. Bosh.
Done him.
And then when he come up, it was a funny dance, and it was like, it's all over, mate.
Well, the ref done very well to stop that fight, but you need to get rounds under your belt. Yeah. But if you get them out of there, it's a bonus. But in long-term thinking, getting rounds under the belt is very, very important. And someone who I'm contracted to fight next, who we've organised with, is Rudenko, and he's proven at the top level to to get rounds in. He fought Zhilei Zhang, couldn't stop him. Hughie Fury couldn't stop him. Povetkin couldn't stop him. So some very, very big names
Are you looking
there.
to make a statement 24th of August?
Well, the thing is now the 24th of August fight is off because Jack Catterall, the main event, has broke his ribs.
Okay.
So we're just in the process of reorganising that fight for in the next month or two.
Rudenko's not a joke.
No, he's not a joke at all.
44 fights, 36 wins.
My most experienced opponent so far.
22 knockouts.
Yeah.
You know, I only lost 7, and that's not a lot compared to how
And the
many
people
fights
that he's
had.
lost to are the Hughie Furies, Alexander Povetkins, Jared Anderson, who's the hottest prospect.